Out-of-date technology, an out-of-date model called the Soviet economic model, and could not exceed 3.5% per year. And not only we could not exceed it, but the parameters that were assigned to the Soviet economic model between 1950 and 1990, those 40 years, essentially ended up was around the assumption that the agriculture would give resources for financing industrialization. And agriculture was already bone dry because the British had set up this jamindari system by which all the resources were extracted and a part of it given to Britain for financing its administrative experience. And so agriculture was no position to finance industrialization. And we ended up in 1965 with a food shortage, which is partly induced by the drought of that period, and literally had to wait for ships from the United States to bring PL 480 under the PL 480 scheme. But fortunately, we had a new Prime Minister then, Lal Bahadur Shastri, and he called experts like MS Swaminathan and others. And they put some of foreign experts too, from the United States of America and Philippines, and put together a package which led to what is called the Green Revolution. Green Revolution only reached about 10% of the agricultural population. But that 10% was enough to generate a very high growth rate in agriculture, especially in food grains. And by 1975, we became food exporting country. But still the growth rate of 3.5% continued because of the fact that the licenses and quotas and so on were hampering business enterprise. And fortunately, after 1990, when we had a foreign exchange crisis, in which period I had just become minister, Mr. Chandrasekhar's government. I also held a minister rank position in Mr. Narasimha Rao's government. And during these two tenures, we decided that market economy is best suited for a country like India, and dismantled the Soviet economic model apparatus of licenses, quotas, and so on. And that's how, in the 5 years of Narasimha Rao's period, we rose by the final year to 8% growth rate. And after that, there hasn't been radical reforms with the other prime ministers like Deve Gowda and Indira Gujral and Atal Bihari Vajpayee. And surprisingly, the finance minister of Mr. Narasimha Rao, Manmohan Singh's tenure as Prime Minister, also did not produce any radical changes in the economic system or further reform the system. And so we never crossed that 8% mark again. And which of course means that Manmohan Singh was very good as Finance Minister if he had a capable Prime Minister like Narasimha Rao. But even as Prime Minister, with Ms. Sonia Gandhi hovering around him, he was not able to produce any major economic reforms. So and then came the BJP period. In BJP period also, we did not make any major reforms. The Prime Minister was, of course, by inclination, considering himself only devoted to microeconomic projects like Ujwala and then things like that, which dealt with lavatories for the rural areas and so on. These were microeconomic projects. But what requires reforms in our country is macroeconomics. And most important of all, if we are to solve the problem of unemployment and lift a bulk of our people who are under the poverty line, above the poverty line, then we need to grow for 10% per year for 10 years.